Good evening, everybody. And this is another bit of news from the Camlough and Bessbrook area. First, I'd like to start off with today. I was involved in a consultation to do with like a refreshing or a regeneration project in Bessbrook. This was organised by the Newry Enterprise Agency along with the council. And we had a number of people on the Zoom meeting, primarily people from the Bessbrook Development Company, Danny Kennedy, Davy Taylor, myself, and a few other people from the council. And anyhow, what we were doing is taking a look at Bessbrook, taking a look at some ideas and discussing some ideas of how to refresh or regenerate part of the village, and trying to ensure that. And at the end of the day, what I must stress is at the minute there is no money available for this. However, when money does become available, the important thing is that we are what they call shovel ready. So we took a number of looks at different parts of the village, and I think there was more or less a meeting of minds of what needs to be done. We also spoke about some of the parts that have been neglected. You know, the back streets in Bessbrook, behind College Square, Charlemont Square, right the whole way up to Thomas Street, up to Oriel Park. And, spoke about, trying to ensure that, because there's an awful lot more people are out walking about, including myself. And Bessbrook is such a fascinating, village, such an unbelievable history. Anybody that's been listening to watched this last couple of weeks, would get a good flavour of that. So it's trying to make Bessbrook more readily available for people to come in and to enjoy everything that it has to offer, for the local people to enjoy it as well. Another part of it we were speaking about was signage for the Derrimore Woods. As people should know, there is a project ongoing there at the minute. I think it was just over £500,000 was acquired by the council. And that's been pumped into Derrimore Woods to make it more user-friendly. So we did speak about the possibility of putting up new signage on the A1, people coming from the Belfast direction, people coming from the Dublin direction, just to see how to get to Derrimore. And, so all of those are ideas that will be put into a plan. And then from the plan, that will be submitted. And that means that if funding does become available, then obviously we have got something already to work on. I think this timescale for this is anything between 2 to 5 years. And, obviously, again, as I said, it'll be subject to funding being available. But an exciting project. And, while it's on the aspirational list at the moment, hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll have it on the to-do list, and then you'll see the work getting done. Again, I'm sure if people have any other ideas themselves and they wish to, get a bit of input into this consultation, either contact myself or Davy Taylor or the Newry Enterprise Agency, and we can feed your ideas in to that consultation. Okay, the second item, and this is to do with the local football, Camlough Rovers, and just to give a bit of a shout out to the senior women's team. They had their first match away on Sunday, I think it was, in Omagh, and apparently they did very well. So fair play to the Camlough Rovers women's team. That's the senior team there. And that's, I think, I'm not too sure exactly where that photograph was taken, but it looks like they had a good day on Sunday anyway. And also, just to let people know that there is a girls only football camp down at Camlough Rovers. It's running this week, and there's still spaces available. That's between 1:30 and 3:30 each afternoon. Jackie Mooney or any of the committee could be contacted for that. It's a great opportunity just for young girls to get out, get a bit of a runabout, see whether they like the game, and who knows, what opportunities become available after that. You can see that bit of training. The camp is down in Camlough Rovers football pitch, as you can see from the photo. And also, I did speak about it last week and possibly the week before about the truck run. And that was obviously, the last one was in memory of Caden McKeown. And it was a fantastic day that was, organised by a great committee along with the family. And the family, as you can see from the photograph, just want to thank everybody publicly for all of the work that went into organising the day and the donations. To the best of my knowledge, it came fairly close to 40,000, which is absolutely fantastic. And that is money that will be well spent. Again, as I say, in memory of young Caden. So thanks very much for everybody. I'd like now to move on back to Bessbrook. As people know, we always have and still have a bit of a problem with people speeding. And, unfortunately, when people speed, particularly in high-powered cars, if they lose control, there will be consequences. There's consequences for both, pedestrians, other car users, and you, the driver. So we're just asking people, please slow down. As you can see, the speed cops were on the Convent Hill in Bessbrook. I think that was over the weekend. And to the best of my knowledge, everybody was complying with the 30-mile limit. So fair play, that was great. But you have to remember, the Convent Hill is one of the hotspots. Now, no doubt there's other parts around Camlough, Bessbrook, Durhamore, that, people are exceeding the speed limits. But the Convent Hill itself is definitely one of the hotspots. And you have to remember, we have a nursing home, we have a primary school, we have a clinic, and we have a pharmacy all along that stretch. And a lot of people are out walking, at all hours of the day. So for goodness sake, please slow down. And the PSNI will be out over the next couple of days with the speed trailer. And it's just for people to sort of be aware. And it's more or less to allay the concerns of residents in that particular area that, the agencies with responsibility are out doing something. Okay. And also back to Shane O'Neill's, and like any club, everybody, you need people to help out, and you also need funding. You need a bit of sponsorship. So I'd like to thank the two lads there, Kieran and Mihal Hughes, as you can see, Camlough, and they have sponsored the senior team there. I see the club chair along with them, which is fantastic. So fair play to the lads. Again, every club, depends very much on support in order to keep their head above the water, and obviously providing a fantastic service, for the young people and for all the families in the area. So fair play to the lads for providing that wee bit of sponsorship. There's a wee story. I only just became aware that this particular guy in a fairly iconic photograph, which I'm sure most of you have seen before and can identify with. This is a fella, I didn't know his name until Monday. That young fella, he was 13 years of age whenever that photograph was taken. He's Paddy Coyle and he's from Derry. And that photograph was taken in August 1969 during what they called the Battle of the Bogside. And, for me, it brought back a serious amount of memories. There's another photograph of young Paddy speaking to Bernadette McAliskey. She was an MP at that particular time. And the reason why it's not just, iconic, it also evokes an awful lot of memories. That's incredible. How the photographer that actually took that photograph met Paddy Coyle for the first time. This was after 50 years. He met him last year in Derry. And unfortunately, the photographer, Clive, somebody or other, died this year as well. He was aged 82. He died in May. But Paddy Coyle would only have been 64. He died after a short illness on Saturday, and apparently he's getting buried tomorrow. But, why it means, it's sort of evokes so many memories is because even I remember as a child in primary school, because the news was on all the time in our house, you became very aware of what was going on around you. And I remember just shortly before this, 1968, in Duke Street, you had the civil rights people out on a peaceful protest, and getting the response of the state was quite brutal. And that was televised and shown throughout the world. And you then had, a few months later, in January 1969, you had Burntollet, and that was the students, People's Democracy, the students marching from Belfast to Derry. And by the time they got to Burntollet, the loyalists had blocked their way and really brutally attacked the students. And again, that was televised. The RUC either joined in on the attack or just stood back, and that had happened. And by the time people got back to Derry, got through over Burntollet and back to Derry, battered and torn, the people in Derry responded with a riot. After the riot died down, that's whenever the RUC moved into the Bogside. And if people remember, Samuel Devaney was battened to death that night in his own house. Apparently his own daughters were battened as well. So whenever it came round to the Battle of the Bogside, the reason why people of all ages were determined to keep the RUC out at that time is because what had happened to Samuel Devaney and what had happened in Dungiven, just down the road, to a Mr. McCluskey as well, a man of 67, Francis McCluskey. And again, he was battered as well. And I remember at the time, because this is all about civil rights, and for us, you know, listening to our parents, there was that sense of hope that things were going to change. And then there was a sense of despair because you could see the response of the state. Now, as kids, you know, just like young kids today picking up about, you know, Black Lives Matter, you know, as kids, you know, we could sense all of this. And I remember the sense of despair. But that photograph for me, that really showed that there was also resistance. And that sort of was lifted us quite a bit, you know, to show that despite the response of the state, you know, that there was people of all ages. He was only 13, and that's why we knew as kids there's also a place for us. And yet he was involved in this act of resistance. But the incredible thing about it is, even though it was an iconic photograph, nobody ever knew who Paddy Coyle, you know, who actually the child was. And as I say, it was only until quite recently I learned it was Paddy Coyle, because he kept very much himself to himself. He didn't exploit the photograph. He didn't do any interviews. He didn't accept any cash. You know, he just led, you know, a quiet enough life. But obviously at that particular moment in time, you know, as you can see, young 13-year-old, gas mask, petrol bomb, leather jackets, the wee badge, you know, depicting the island of Ireland. You can see it's just all about politics, standing in the rubble. And, you know, as I say, it just had such a massive impression and very much shaped an awful lot of young people of my generation, you know, be they primary school kids or secondary school kids, you know. So I thought I had to mention that today, because even though he was a Derry lad, you know, it still shaped the lives of many people from this area as well. I'd also like to, let me see, just give a shout out for a few people for their birthdays. So one of the lads here, if I can get the photographs up, maybe I'll be able to say who it is, just so I don't do what I did last week and talk about the wrong person. So that's Conor Mackin. Conor Mackin just lives down the road from me, and I think he's 26. So fair play to Conor and happy birthday. And who else do we have? Cal, if you can get them up. And the next one, oh yeah, this is actually Conor's mother and father, Frida and Mickey Mackin. And it's their wedding anniversary this week, 29 years married. So they look very young and very fresh-faced there. So I'm sure that's going to be a bit of a party for them for their 29th anniversary. And I have a few other birthdays, maybe, if we can get the photographs up. I think, who else have we got here? Oh yeah, that's Anton McLaughlin. Anton lives up the road from me. That's Anton, who also graduated, as you can see, from Queen's University in Belfast. I'm not too sure what age Anton is, but he's not too old. I'd say around about 26, 27. But happy birthday to Anton as well. And I think of another one, Roy McDonald. Roy's from the Chapel Road in Camlough. There's Roy. And again, it's his birthday this week. So happy birthday, Roy, and fair play. I'd just like to mention that, you know, as everybody's getting back to some type of normality, the lottery for the Shane O'Neills is back up and running. I'm sure Cara Cruppins is as well, but it's 5,700 to the best of my knowledge. You know, so that would certainly help quite a bit if you were to win that. So if you're not in, you can't win. So there's an opportunity there for people just to go and buy a lottery ticket. And again, like the Hughes lads, help support the local club. So thanks again, Cahill, for the opportunity here. And as I say, if anybody wants any shout outs or anything like that there, just give me a shout during the week, either by private message or send me a wee call or by WhatsApp. So looking forward to speaking again next week. Yeah, Carl.